Mr. Hanna,
Mr. Evans.
do you have the details of the mission prepared before we start recording?
I do.
Okay, so how about you tell me what was James Bond's assignment before we start?
In this mission, nuclear submarines are being stolen by an unknown person, first from the UK and then Russia. So Bond is sent in to investigate and find out what's going on.
And this is The Spy Who Loved Me. All right, and recording. I am your host, Jeremy Evans. Actually, I am your agent, Jeremy Evans. And along with me, my other agent, Travis Hanna.
Ba-da-ba-da.
And we are now on the new Bond's third mission, or to everybody else, the 9th mission. And this is The Spy Who Loves Me. And this one is, I guess I would look at as in this mission, a great adventure mission. Like, this is probably the most traveling mission that we've seen so far. I think out of all his missions, this is the most places we've seen him go that involve in a mission. Do you agree, Travis?
Well, they take a lot of time to set up the movie or the mission. And it, like, my notes were crazy because it was, we're going here and we're going there and then here and then here and then there. And then this happens and then that happens. It doesn't really start slowing down until halfway through the second act.
Mm-hmm. And we also noticed that a lot of, you can tell this mission had a bigger budget. Like, there was a lot of like stuff that happened, like new gadgets, new over the top, like big effect stuff, like humongous. Like, you could just feel like in this movie, a lot of stuff was riding on this. Like, this mission it felt very important for Bond. It felt like he had to figure out what's getting done because people were getting killed.
Right.
And it meant something. It gives you that Goldfinger kind of feel, per se. It's like Goldfinger with a little bit with Dr. No. Like, you get to see what's going on, but you don't get the big reveal towards the end, and I think it actually did really well for itself. But let's go ahead and get into this mission. So, Travis, how does this mission start? I believe it starts with a submarine, I believe it says, correct?
That's correct. A submarine is under attack or it's getting shaken violently and they don't know why. So they surface and all we hear the captain say is something along the lines of, "Oh my God." And then it cuts and we find out that the submarine has been stolen.
Right. So from there, we find out that it actually belonged to, I believe, the Russians. That was
the British government.
That was the British government. Okay. So from there, we get a call. I'm trying to think. Yeah. They go straight to Moscow.
From there, it goes from the submarine scene to like some British officer's office to a KGB office in Moscow.
Okay.
So it's like bam, bam, bam. We're like 2 minutes into the movie, and we're already in 3 locations. And
where the British they call a gentleman by the name of General Gogol, and he is a Russian general for the government, and he gets word about the situation, and he ends up calling their agent for the job. So
their best agent.
Their best agent. So we see this couple sitting in bed, and they just finish doing what Bond normally does, except Bond's not in it. And from there, after they just had a great time getting through their, bumping uglies, a call comes in and we find out that it's not the gentleman that is answering. It's actually the lovely woman that's in the bed named Anya Amasova, a.k.a. Agent XXX.
Correct.
And so she is the best agent, and she gets summons down to go talk to the general, which the general briefs her about what is going on.
Right. At the same time, the guy she's with is going to go on a mission and come back. And when he comes back, they're supposed to get married, I believe.
Yes.
Something along those lines. Well, from this scene, it cuts to M's office. And
by the way, the lover's name is Michael Billington, by the way.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Just by the way for people, if it matters. Go on.
So we're at M's office, and M's trying to figure out where Bond is, and Moneypenny tells him that, Bond's on another mission. Mm-hmm. So he tells Bond that, Then it cuts to Bond on his other mission, and he's shacking up with this chick out in the cabin in Snowy Mountain. And while they're getting ready to go for another round, his watch gets a fax. And I'm not joking.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
MI6 sends a fax to Bond's watch that comes out in a strip that looks like one of those old school plastic label makers.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that it's kind of like, you know, when you need to label something really quick, they got this little devices that print out the things. That's basically what it is. Except this was looking like old school. Looks like the font looked like more typewriter per se.
It was like the label maker where you had to squeeze and it would punch the number into the plastic.
Actually, it looks like if you go to a library and you're pulling like those file.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the font. That's the font.
So Bond packs up in his bright yellow ski suit with his red backpack and heads out. And it turns out that Triple X's lover is the mission is he's going after Bond.
Yes. What a coincidence. And so Bond is now skiing down, and the boys are ready to take him down. And so this becomes a giant action-packed ski chase like no other. And who knew Bond was really good at skiing? You know, we shouldn't be surprised, but this is the second time that we actually see Bond ski.
And definitely not the last.
Right. So after a long ski scene, after going to shoot, we find out that Bond has his own thing up his sleeve because they're over here trying to shoot him with guns. But, first gadget we find out is the ski.
Yep. What is it called? A ski arm?
Yeah, basically. And
but it's a gun or a harpoon gun. Or anyway, when you're skiing, you have those two sticks to help push you along and help get you help your stability. And he points one at one of the guys and shoots it like a harpoon gun, and it kills him.
Poor Michael. Michael takes it hard.
Yeah.
And so going through his we forgot he does a badass backflip. And somehow the guys got in front of him, but he managed to escape again. And then what happens? A giant cliff is at the end. And Bond shows no fear and just jumps right off of it.
Right, just base jumps. Skis right off.
And I kid you not, the music just goes silent. It's just pure quiet. And I'm not gonna lie, like looking at it, it seems like he would already fall in the snow. But it's like the camera makes it look like oh, there's more to this. Okay.
Yeah, I was for sure I'm like, is he gonna hit the ground?
Right.
But no, he opens up a Union Jack parachute and it goes right into the opening credits.
And we go into this lovely kind of like gentle music that it picks up later in the middle of the song, and it goes really well. I personally like this song a lot. It gives you that really good Bond feel.
I liked this opening because it is the opening that I am accustomed to and really like. It's very out there.
Yeah.
Like it starts out with the silhouette of Bond like jumping on a trampoline.
Yeah.
And then it's got naked girls doing gymnastics on top of gun slides. And it's very interesting, very dolly and just ecstasy, or what's the word?
It's very like, I feel like
abstract.
It's very abstract, right? And I also like about it is because this is the first time we actually get to see a physical Bond in this. Not by like pictures and stuff like that. Like Bond is actually running in the scene, coming up in the scene, shooting, jumping up and down, all this kind of stuff. And the music is just go really well, especially towards the middle. The violin comes in, and that's just where it gets me right there. When that violin comes in, that's so Bond. Because I feel like violin fits Bond very well, and we're getting this girl that actually really feel like she's really singing with a purpose.
Right. No, this was a really, really good opening. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's even got like naked chicks, and you see their titties.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
It's hard to not like this opening.
And she's like, and the best part is the girl is like doing like kind of like pole dancing on a pistol, on the end of a pistol gun.
Yeah, like it's really good.
Mm-hmm. And so from there, we go right into the next scene where Bond is entering the office to talk to M and whatnot. But before he gets to M, he gets a little talk with Q, leading up to finding out what happened to the submarine.
Well, right, they're able to track the route that the submarine was supposed to take, and then where it stopped. And so Bond goes to investigate. Well, Bond goes to Cairo to meet with an informant that might have information as to what's happening to these submarines.
Right. So from there, we get introduced, I believe, to the villain, correct?
Correct.
And this villain is
Karl Stromberg.
And this guy, right at the very beginning, you can tell that he is not playing. Like the moment, like right at the beginning, two gentlemen have walked in through an elevator, and a beautiful woman is sitting all the way on the other side of this table. This table's long. Think of the old school tables where like you say pass the salt and you grab the salt and you have to walk all the way down to passing the salt. That's what they'll think.
If you watch the '89 Batman movie,
yeah,
where Bruce Wayne is having dinner with Vicky Vale and they're just crazy far away from each other,
mm-hmm.
This is a table just like that.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty damn good, beautiful table.
No, and at the head of it is this Karl Stromberg. And these two scientists walk up, and these are the guys that have figured out how to steal these submarines,
mm-hmm.
or how to locate these submarines underwater, basically. Mm-hmm. Well, he makes an accusation that somebody has been selling secrets. And so he sets these guys up and asks his dinner date for assistance. And it turns out that she's the one who's been selling.
And I love that because like the focus, if you're watching this, which I recommend watching this movie while you're listening to us too at the same time, but I love the fact that they never like panned out to her ever. They really made you think it was one of those two. Then it goes straight to her like you failed me, bitch.
Right. And he ends up dropping her through the floor and into a shark tank.
And I love it too because it's like, could you excuse us? Like you made it like a personal thing. Like it's between us, me and those two guys. And then she gets dumped in the water. She's shark bait. And from there, those two scientists were like, okay, I guess we're good. And so
they got paid millions of dollars to make this device, and we find out that Stromberg actually lives in like an underwater castle, so it's like a submarine base.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes up to the surface so that these scientists can leave, but also so his henchmen can go find the microfilm that his date sold to. I'm not really sure who she sold it to, but got it out. And here we're introduced to Jaws, who is a giant dude with metal teeth.
How tall would you think he is? Do you think he's about 7 foot?
I would say 7 foot.
7 foot? Okay.
He's got to be. He's so tall.
Yeah, and then the other fellow, his name was Sandor?
Sandor? Yeah, Sandor.
Yeah.
And he doesn't stay around too much longer.
Right. These two look like if they'd be like in the cast of like Addams Family, or the Monsters, just standing side by side, especially Jaws. That's what he looks like. He looks like he would be like that Frankenstein
Lurch from
doesn't he look like that a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so before we move on, can we talk about the Spider Fortress looking thing in the water? What's your opinion on that? Like, do you think that looks really cool? I thought that was pretty cool because we have never seen something like that in a Bond film yet. Like that design coming out I think it's out of this world for Bond.
I think it kind of resembles an octopus, which is the animal for Spectre.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And at first, I thought they were going to bring Spectre back into play.
Right.
But it never happened. He's his own crazy guy.
He's basically in this. So far, we notice in this one, he's definitely portraying as kind of like a Goldfinger-ish,
yes,
per se. Because you can tell Jaws is the odd job of this particular film.
Well, he is definitely the main henchman. He is thwarted and comes back multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And just so you know, looking it up, he is 7'2".
That's a tall man.
He's a big man.
Yeah. And
so the scientists leave, and Sandor and Jaws leave, and the scientists are like, "Oh yeah, we got away. This was a job well done." And then Stromberg blows up their helicopter.
And I think right there, in the matter of literally, I think that was a 10-minute scene of how you just present a villain. Like, that's right. How you present a villain.
Everything is given to you so quickly that, like, in this whole scene, we know that this dude has no problem killing. He's got crazy henchmen that work for him. He has an underwater base, so we know he's rich. Mm-hmm. And he has no problem going back on his word, because he killed those guys and immediately told someone to rescind the checks that he was going to transfer. Right.
But I also think, too, he looks like a villain that he wouldn't mind spending a lot of money to, like, kill somebody off if he needs to.
No. Yeah. And that's definitely proven.
Yeah. So we now back to Bond visiting Cairo, Egypt, where he is going to meet an informant by the name of...
It's a sheik named Hossein.
Okay. And so from there, he's getting informed. I believe in your paperwork you wrote, he says, let me see here. What did he inform him about? Let's see here.
He has to go meet a man named Fakesh.
Okay.
So it starts out like there's this tent in the middle of the desert, and Bond walks in, and there's all these chicks and fruit and all this other stuff, and Sheik and Bond went to university together, and he gives them all the information he has, and then the Sheik is like, "Oh, I thought you were gonna like spend the night," and Bond's like, "No, I can't. I got a mission." And then, like, while Bond is saying that he can't, some chick comes out with a flower, and Sheik's like, "Oh, well, are you sure you can't stay the night?"
I think I could bond it for a little bit.
Yeah, so he stays the night.
Yeah. So he ends up heading towards the downtown of Cairo, basically. And from there, he is going to head, I believe, Travis, is a hotel, I believe.
Right.
He goes to the hotel.
Well, it's like an office or something. It's hard to tell in these scenes because they go to actual, like...
parts of the town.
Well, but ruins. Like,
that's true.
These buildings have been here. And so they're not like modern buildings. They don't really have labels on the outside. Mm-hmm. So it looks like some kind of office building or somewhere where this Fakesh guy hangs out. And he's greeted by a woman.
By the way, he's getting followed. He's being followed.
That's right. He's being followed.
I'm whispering because that's what he would do. Go on.
And this woman like basically says, "Oh, Fakesh isn't here," but he sent her. And so Bond doesn't really trust her. Mm-hmm. And as Bond and her are getting ready to make out, the assassin goes to shoot Bond but kills the chick.
Mm-hmm. And then Bond chased him down, and that led him all the way to the roof.
Right.
Where we get our first Bond fight scene.
That's right. And we find out that the assassin is Sandor. Mm-hmm. And their whole... I don't know if we talked about it, but Jaws and Sandor's whole mission is to find the microfilm and kill anybody who has had touch and contact with it.
It kind of reminds you of Mr. Kid and Mr. Wit.
Yeah.
Kind of like that per se, except like these, it feels like that Sandor and Jaws don't really, it look like they kind of like went their separate ways at the same time. Like you don't see them together. Like
no, but they're both in Cairo.
Yes. So we go into the first fight scene, and in this one, well, let's just put it this way. I think Travis agrees with me.
There's a lot of hugging.
There's a lot of hugging, but I think worst of it though is Bond shouldn't kick anymore.
No,
kicking is not best for him. The kicks are not really in this particular. Apparently, the most lethal thing ever because like he kicks more than he punch. I think he kicks, hugs, kicks, hugs. Like I think one punch came in. And then this one particular scene happens where I question it.
Yeah.
Is the fact that you want to set this up?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So Sandor they're on a rooftop and Sandor is on the edge and he's getting ready he's falling off and he grabs Bond's necktie and he's holding on and Bond is just kind of standing there like it doesn't look like he's holding back any weight from this guy, but this guy is clearly like leaning backwards. And it's just a bizarre scene.
I guess for me, I'm thinking I don't think I'm that strong enough to hold my composure of a person that heavy. I honestly think I would be pulled down with him because that's what his goal was. Like, if I'm going down, you take me down with me. But Bond's just looking at it like, you're messing up my tie, buddy. Let me just get the hand off of there. And he just fell to his doom.
Well, Bond is like, I'm not going to help you until you tell me where Fakesh is. And like, I don't know what the guy says. I went back and listened a couple times and couldn't figure it out. But Bond lets the guy fall to his death anyway, and then we're treated by a really cool light show where they're lighting up the actual pyramids and the Sphinx. And so Bond shows up and is trying to identify this Fakesh guy.
God, wouldn't that be awkward? Like if you were, I don't know. I guess there must be a perimeter for them coming in. It looks like Bond just walked from the desert to this show, and I'm not seeing a perimeter of it looks like anyone could walk around this Sphinx and just be fine with it. I just feel like, I guess I thought there'd be more security, I guess, and just there's no security. It's just come sit, come listen to this epic, weird, hippie music playing. You know what I mean?
They're like, it's like a night. It's like a night show talking about the mysteries of Egypt, and they're using lights to light up the Sphinx and the pyramids to make them seem more mystical.
Yeah.
And talking about stuff like, can you imagine being a visitor from the ancient world and never seeing anything like this?
So a couple of things were going on during this show. So for one, Fakesh was actually sitting by
Agent XXX,
and they were I guess they were chatting a little bit, but Bond managed to sit in front of him, and he
was kind of off to the side and trying to keep an eye on Fakesh.
Okay. And then when the lights went up again during the music, it happens to be Jaws appearing in this light, and he locked eyes with Fakesh. Fakesh is crapping in his pants. He's like, excuse me, I gotta go real quick. He gotta use the bathroom, but regardless, he's gonna be in some shit. So he's walking away. Bond starts noticing, and he just follows him. And this is the part that's weird to me because no one cares to really kind of see we're just seeing a bunch of guys just walk off like that. I guess maybe that's normal. I guess it's looking.
Yeah, I mean,
it just kind of stands out kind of weird to me.
It is,
and so. Jaws apparently didn't see Bond. He only saw Fakesh walk away. So Fakesh is walking on the side of the Sphinx. So we get to see how big this Sphinx is. This thing is freaking huge. And so it becomes like a little mini chase with fast speed walking. So Fakesh is running, and then, Jaws is getting a little hustle going right there, and he's following, and then Bond follows, and then we know that XXX following, but you never see her, and they manage to be in this back alley per se in the ruins where Fakesh. You find out that Fakesh is apparently part of this Sphinx thing going on because he has access to I guess part of this this ruins area where he can unlock this gate, and so. From there, we find out that Mr. Jaws has a special ability, and this is why he's called Jaws. Because his teeth are all metal, and actually, sorry, we didn't mention that, but we wanted to save it for this special movie because you get to see what they really do. He bites the chains off. He bites the chains off with his teeth. So, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of unique. And so he bites it off like it's nothing. And he goes in and he meets Vakesh in this little room. By the way, can we just say for the sake of argument that I feel like by the time that Jaws realized that this chain is blocking him and he bites it open, that Vakesh should have been a little bit further away than he should be.
Well, I don't think
there's a dead end.
Well, they don't really show how big the room is that he locked himself into. He just figured he'd be safe because he was locking himself in.
I guess because like there's a scene I see a doorway behind, so I just assume like why didn't you go through that door? I guess. But
Jaws in this movie likes to eat people.
Vampire style, by the way.
He like uses his teeth to like bite and kill people. So he eats Vakesh.
And so after he finishes his meal, he walks out. And guess who's there waiting for him? It's Mr. James Bond. And James Bond is kind of like, no, you're not getting away. And then the light show kind of blacked out for a minute. It appeared again, and Jaws is gone. Like, gone. I don't know how a guy that tall can run that quick, but he did it. Boom. So after Bond investigates Vakesh, finds out he's dead, he comes back out. Two people are waiting. No. I believe it's Triple X is out there waiting for.
Triple X is waiting for him, and then a bunch of henchmen show up.
And so she walked off, and Bond goes into another kickathon. So he kicks even more people. Like I don't understand why they're making him kick so much. It's not good. And he likes kicking him right on the side and the butt. And these guys take these kicks like they've been shot. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I agree.
And so Bond just kind of walks off after, his little chat with Triple X saying like, it wasn't me, I didn't kill him.
He found a book that Vakesh had in his
pocket.
I'm
sorry.
And
I forgot about that little book.
He's meeting up with a man named Max at a hotel.
Yeah, because the name of the
club.
book, by the way, his last name is Cabal. And so they go, he owns this Egyptian nightclub. So right when he enters, there's a lot of now you could tell by the setting of this, the movie is set, I think, in 1975, I believe. And you could tell that, this is during kind of more the hippie stage. So there's a lot of, you can see these dancers are really wearing more of like a hippie kind of tone style.
Right.
Yeah. And so who happens to be there too at this Egyptian nightclub? Miss Triple X. Why don't you take us there?
Okay, so Triple X meets up with Bond, and they talk about how they know each other. Not that they've encountered each other, but just through their work, they've heard about each other. And so Bond orders a drink, and Triple X orders a drink, and they chat for a little bit. And then
can we say that? Sorry to interrupt you, but can we say this is the first time in a long time we heard Bond asked for a drink, and then the girl called him out on it, like, you like it like this, shaken, not stirred. Like, we never heard him ever order a drink and say that ever since until now.
Right.
That's so interesting to me. So I'm glad they brought that back to kind of get that Bond feel again. Go on.
Yeah, I've also noticed in this one, he doesn't smoke nearly as many cigars.
You're right.
In fact, I don't think he smoked any, but in the previous ones he did.
Yeah. Maybe he's going through a midnight crisis or something.
But anyway, he walks off to talk to this Max guy, and Triple X uses the drink as a perfect excuse to join him. Mm-hmm. So while Bond is trying to talk to Max, Triple X shows up and goes, "Oh, Mr. Bond, you forgot your drink."
And then after just through exchange, because they end up trying to bid for some information.
It's the microfilm.
Film, yeah, sorry. So they're trying to bid for this microfilm. They're going back and forth, but all of a sudden it got interrupted by a gentleman that told Mr. Cabal that there's a call waiting for him. So he goes to receive the call. Or no, I'm sorry. He went to go make a call, didn't he?
No. Jaws is dressed up as a telephone repairman.
There you go.
He gets a call, or someone, one of the hotel or the club guys comes up to Mr. Max and says, "Someone's on the phone for you. They said it's urgent."
Okay.
And so he goes to answer the phone call, and there's nobody on the phone, but Jaws is there, and Jaws eats Max.
There you go. Okay, continue on.
So Bond gets suspicious because Max hasn't been back, and goes and looks for him and finds him dead, and then finds that the microfilm is missing.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks outside, or he sees an open window, and when he looks outside, he sees Jaws walking away. So he starts following him, gets into the back of the telephone repair truck, and then Triple X follows him and does the same. So they're having a conversation about what... I forgot what they're having a conversation
They're
about.
basically having a conversation about really about the mission. Like not the mission, but it is a mission. They're trying to get information like, where's this microfilm? What's going on? What stuff you're not telling me? But what they don't know is Jaws is smarter than they think, because he has an intercom in the front of his seat that can hear everything they just talked about. So he is just trying to play dumb as they head to this mysterious ruins out in the middle of nowhere, right? So
Jaws knows they're in the car and starts leading them through like this maze of pillars. He tries to kill them and they get into a fight. They end up stealing the microfilm, and Jaws, they hit Jaws with this van, and Jaws demolishes this van, rips the side off, rips the hood off, rips the roof off. So we know he's a super strong dude. And they end up driving off in this busted van and walking for a while because it breaks down.
Oh, by the way, Lawrence Arabia gets played.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lawrence Arabia gets played, so that's quite interesting. And so, but from there, they find a boat.
They find a boat that takes them back to Cairo.
And let's go ahead and pause from there. And when we come back, we will continue that voyage where the boat has left them at.
Okay.
Hey, listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, a.k.a. your Endgame Boss. And I want to let you know that this is not the only show you can listen to. We got great shows like the Endgame Boss Podcast, the Game of Halls of Rivalries, Bond Never Dies, and Area 44, and more to come. So if you enjoyed this show, make sure you follow and subscribe to the network so you're always updated with the newest episodes and update on any other news that happens in the Endgame Boss program. So, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the show. Hey, this is Jeremy Evans, the man behind the Endgame Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety shows. But did you know I do my own show? Yeah, it's the Endgame Boss Podcast, a show where I challenge not only you, but myself on fun subjects in the gaming culture with fun guests. So come by and be challenged. And we're back. I am your agent, Jeremy Evans, along with me, Travis Hanna.
Ba-da-ba-da.
And we are back with part 2 of the show, and we are going to go where Bond mysteriously wakes up from a boat. Why? Because he just took a boat trip with Miss Triple X after his fight with Jaws, and they're making it back. But why was Bond asleep in the first place?
She had a secret weapon.
So, while Bond was trying to use his smooth moves, Triple X was kind of aware of it, right? And so she ended up playing him and knocking him out with a spray.
Well, it was a cigarette that
yeah.
when you breathe into it,
Yeah.
produces a knockout powder. And so she knocked out Bond, stole the microfilm, and took off. But not before Bond was able to review what was on the microfilm.
Right. And so after a long walk, Bond managed to make it to another mysterious ruin where apparently is a secret base in there where he meets him.
Secret bases all over the place.
And guess who happens to be there with them? M and Mr. General Gogol, or Gogol, my apologies.
Gogol.
Gogol. It sounds like a bird. Yeah, it sounds like a bird, right? Yeah, Gogol. So he ends up meeting Gogol and happens to be Triple X there, and now they have to work together.
Right. Both governments are working together since they both know that neither of them stole each other's submarines.
Exactly. So
and there's nuclear weapons involved.
So where does that take them next?
So we're on a train.
So on this train.
Well, I take that back. We see a bunch of gadgets because Q's there.
Yes.
And Q it starts out with like a dinner tray on like a magnetic track that he uses to decapitate a dummy. And then there's like some oil slick guns and just a bunch of neat little like ejection seat stuff. A camel saddle with a blade in it.
Which is like, I hope that doesn't actually go off on you if you ever ride that. I think it's meant for like if someone stole it, you can just activate it or something like that. But like, whew, I know I messed up and pressed that. And so, so after analyzing all that stuff, then they go straight. They're heading down to Italy.
Well,
now?
Right, because they discover on one of the slides for the plans that there is a half symbol, and Bond between Bond and Triple X, they recognize that it's Karl Stromberg's family symbol for a company that they own.
Yes, that is very correct. So they wanted to go investigate that. So
right, so they're going to disguise themselves as a couple interested in underwater biology.
Basically, they're like biologists, give or take. That's what they were trying to portray as.
Just so they can meet with Stromberg.
Yeah, so they're taking this train as the first place to start off, and they go on a train. They're heading down to, get to Stromberg. And during this whole time, Triple X is still kind of keeping her distance from Bond, but she's also not trying to get played at the same time. So they end up kind of being separate rooms for a little bit. And then while, you know what is so interesting about it is that I think they're both trying to act like Bond wants to do it, but he's trying to be respectful. And I think she wants to do it too, but she doesn't want to get played, or she's just really trying to focus on the mission. So they kind of stayed in their separate rooms. So Bond actually sat there and wait a minute because he thought, I give it time. She'll come in here. We'll drink it.
Well, I think they were waiting for each other to make a move.
Yeah.
They kept waiting by the door.
Right. And I guess Bond believes that his style, the girl will just come to him. And she thinking that, well, if you're all, let's see if you're all talk, you come to me. So that's why they were kind of in a stalemate. Right. But Bond ended up coming in there anyways because while Triple X was getting changing, guess who happens to be in the closet picking at the whole situation? Jaws. How the hell did he get in there? How the hell did he get in there? He's 7 foot tall. He wasn't bending.
Yep.
He wasn't bending. It was like, what? And so from there, weirdly enough, another fight scene happened. And, Triple X kind of stay out of it. So we know Triple X is not really a fighter that much. Or she just easily gets knocked down. So after a couple punches to him, Jaws is getting upper hand. Like he's actually smashing Bond on the ceiling. He's throwing him on the bed. He's getting worked. He is getting worked. And so, but while Bond was getting almost choked out by Jaws, Bond managed to have enough time to look at this lamp. And with this lamp, he tries really hard to really get it to Jaws' mouth. And
he busts the bulb.
Yeah.
So that the filament is still there, and he uses that to shock Jaws' mouth.
Yeah, and for some reason Jaws really did not put two together because that was a very long, dramatic scene of him grabbing this lamp. Like he acted like he didn't really focus, but in defense, Jaws was really trying to aim for that neck.
Yeah, Jaws was trying to kiss his neck.
Yeah.
So.
And so after a little shock therapy, Bond manages to get the upper hand and does his famous, anything I kick you with, you'll magically just fall to your doom. So that's what happened. He kicked Jaws out of a train.
Out of a train window.
The train was still moving. And how bad did Jaws get hurt? Well, not enough. He just dusted out his outfit, straightened up his tie, and he just continued on. He's like, I'll catch you at the next stop.
Right.
That Jaws, man. I like Jaws a lot. This is a guy who's like, man, you can do whatever you want, man. It don't hurt.
Right.
You're just stalling.
He is a good villain, and they used him very well in this one.
Right. So with that, in the heat of the moment, Bond got his wish, and now him and Triple X are bonding it. So, and that leads into our next scene,
where they're in Italy.
it is time for something we've been waiting for the whole time. The Q branch.
That's right.
So, Travis, talk about the car and talk about some of the gadgets that we find out that the car can do.
Okay, so Q brings him a Lotus Spirit, which is very popular within the Bond community because it is a car that turns into a submarine. But on top of that, it's got like an oil slick. It's got missile or rockets or torpedoes. Like it's one of his outside of his DB5. It is like the Bond car.
Right. It is a beautiful looking car. It's slick. It's white. And what I like about it too was like, we know Q made it, but it was more fun to figure out what it does without Q going into like, it does this, this, and this, and this.
Right, because Q's about to tell him how to use it, and Bond just like, all right, bye.
Right.
Doesn't give him a chance.
Right. And so Q was really pissed. And I think that was an inside joke to the Bond community fans. They were like, it was like, dang, he still don't want to listen to Q. So after a nice little drive, and this is where we get more of the sceneries. This is definitely a scenery like shots of like Bond driving this car, and they end up hitting up a little I would call it like a little resort.
Yeah, resort.
Or a resort kind of nice place. And so this is where Bond and Triple X pretend that they are a couple now.
Right.
And so they end up getting a room and all that stuff.
With separate beds.
Yeah. But when they got there, they end up meeting another woman.
Naomi.
And Naomi has access to Stromberg.
Well, Naomi works for Stromberg.
Yeah.
And Stromberg sent her to pick up Bond and Triple X, thinking that they're biologists.
She's actually a pretty beautiful woman.
She's a very beautiful woman.
Yeah. You almost think like, no offense, you look like a good Bond girl.
Right.
I rock with that.
I kind of like her more than I like Triple X.
Right. And so after that, they get they get in the boat and they start heading down to, Spider-Man Island.
Well, Stromberg calls it Atlantis.
And so, and you're right. It does look like an octopus, like hands down. You're absolutely right. And you get a really good picture there of it. So you get in there and you get to meet, the whole gang, his whole squad, or his minions, or his workers. It always makes me think as these henchmen, like, I don't think they really get paid.
I think they do.
But do you think they live there? They have to live there, right? It's like, look, you can work for me, but you have to stay and live here with me.
I don't know.
I mean, how do they
It
go
would make
home?
sense.
I mean, I don't see other boats. No, they have to be there living there. Anyways, they get a bit of a tour. Bond ends up. Oh, go ahead.
Bond ends up kind of screwing over Triple X here, and tells Naomi to give his wife a tour.
Yeah.
While he goes to talk to Stromberg.
She is pissed.
Yeah.
So
he meets Stromberg, and Stromberg tests him by showing him a lionfish and asking him if he knows what it is. And Bond, it's a really weird scene because Bond acts like he's stumped, but then gives the correct information.
It looked like he got lucky. He got lucky.
And then while he's waiting for Stromberg, is looking outside of these portholes because they're underwater. And there's like an arm, an arm with a watch, and some jewelry, and it's pretty funny.
And it's funny too because Stromberg here, he's very settled, but you still get that vibe of I don't want you to waste my time,
right?
So tell me what you need, so I can move on,
right? Because they only meet they don't even really talk all that long.
This is probably the longest conversation they really have per se, other than the end. The end was so fast, but this is the most dialogue you'll ever see these two really talk, in my opinion. And
outside of the end scene.
Yeah. And so after their conversation, Stromberg's like, well, I got a meeting, so I'm sorry, but we got to end this talk. And so, and I guess Bond got the information he needs as a quotation biologist, and so he let him go. And then
that's the thing, is he never actually gave him any information.
Right.
It's a really weird scene.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because the fact that like he never asked him like what company you really work for, or
right, it was an excuse to get Bond there in the script, I think, because then like Stromberg shows him like a model of an underwater city, and like his Atlantis pod or whatever it is part of the whole setup.
Do you like the fact, though, in your opinion, do you like the fact that we didn't get a tour of his whole thing, or do you like this was enough to get by?
I think this was enough. I think we've seen between all the different scenes what this guy is capable of, and the extravagance, like in his dining room. You know, like where he can watch people be eaten by sharks while he's eating.
Okay.
You know, like
yeah. Okay.
I don't think we need any more.
Right. No, because also too, we realized that his place is not that big. Like his special spots.
Right.
You're in like one of two special spots that you see in the movie. So it's really, and they pan it out enough where like, okay, it's water all around. What's the big deal? So yeah. So after all that, he lets him go. But I believe Stromberg kind of caught wind of, yeah, he's not.
Well,
he
talks with Jaws, and he asks Jaws, are those the two that you've been chasing?
Okay. Sorry, let me put it this way. Do you get the feel that he kind of put two and two together before Jaws? Because it feels like that when Jaws came in, it felt like he was already like, get rid of him.
Yeah. And he made sure, he's like, are those the two that you've been chasing?
I think he feels like that he got lucky with that answer. It looks like he got lucky with the answer. Like,
he's like, all right, so kill him.
Right. And this is where...
is where he becomes very Goldfinger.
Yes.
So they leave, and they get back in their Lotus, and they're driving. And
Can I say something before we start?
Sure.
I want to say for this scene, at all the Bond movies in the Roger Moore era, the last two movies, Man with the Golden Gun and The Live or Let Die, is out of all the chase scenes, this chase scene that we're going to be talking about felt like it had more of a purpose than all the other scenes that we've seen in the chase scenes, especially from the boat ones that went entirely too long and it just got drawn out. It wasn't really going anywhere. And then the other one from Man with the Golden Gun that happened in Hong Kong, where that boat race was just so short, but it was still boring. This one here, it felt like it really had a purpose. Do you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly, because I feel like Stromberg did whatever he could to try and kill the both of them.
And it wasn't like the dumb, goofy kills per se.
The motorcycle is kind of like, it starts out cool, but then it like ends dumb. Like you can tell it's a rag doll.
Yeah, I guess I put it this way. I put it
but
like...
outside of that, everything else was like...
I guess I look at it as like no one... It wasn't unnecessarily dumb deaths.
No.
The deaths like felt... It had a reason why.
Right.
It wasn't like, someone crashed in the mud, then the car blew up. It wasn't any of that crap. And so go ahead.
Okay. So they're driving along, and this guy on a motorcycle sees them. And so he starts following them, and he's got a sidecar. Well, Bond knows that it's a bad guy, and so he's driving up this winding road, and he gets stuck behind a truck.
That's a big-ass truck. That means that road is really small.
Those roads are really narrow. And so Bond is trying to get around this truck, and he can't. And it turns out that what's attached to the sidecar is like a giant rocket. It looks like a torpedo from Star Trek. And so the motorcycle guy launches it, and Bond manages to get around this truck and in front of it before a truck coming from the other lane hits him, and it blows up the back of the first truck. So then the motorcycle guy, like...
I felt like he could have stopped. It looked like he had enough time.
Yeah, he ran into a plume of feathers that were on the that the truck was delivering, and like couldn't see and drove off the cliff and died.
Okay, look. I'm going to be totally honest here. I think the first time you saw him just fall off the cliff, it was good enough. I feel like we didn't need to see him fall all the way down. We kind of already got it but it was still funny.
But they never show that, so it was kind of cool to see them.
Well, I guess from Your Majesty's Secret Service, we saw that guy like fell off that cliff, and we saw him fall all the way down.
Yeah.
So like at the same time, I was like, okay. So yeah, go on.
So after he dies, a car starts following him, and in the car is Jaws and 3 henchmen, and they all have guns.
Quick.
And they're all shooting at the Lotus and trying to kill him. And Bond ends up using like an oil slick, and it shoots all over the front of the car, and they can't see, and they crash.
Mm-hmm.
So then a helicopter shows up, and they're being chased by a helicopter, which is being driven by Naomi.
Hot Naomi.
And Bond tries really hard to lose Naomi, but he can't seem to do it. And so she's shooting at him from the helicopter, and he ends up driving into the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
by the way, I know this is not a big deal, but can we just to let y'all know, Jaws' crew after the slick, they crash into a house, and then Jaws walks off like, once again, this ain't shit. His other men are dead. Moving on. Sorry, go on.
Well,
underwater.
And then he like walks past the homeowner like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah. You know I'm not paying for it. You go solve the problem.
So
you got a new car though.
Yeah. So Bond can't lose the helicopter and ends up driving the Lotus into the ocean. And when that happens, the Lotus turns into a submarine.
So cool.
And at the top of the submarine is a surface-to-air missile that Bond lines up Naomi's helicopter, lines the Lotus up with Naomi's helicopter, and like blows her up.
Right. So picture like those cartoons, or if you're remembering from Dr. No, where they had to hide themselves underwater with like a bamboo sticking in the air. That's what it looked like from them when they shot it up through the water to hit her. And it was funny because she did not see that coming, so that was pretty awesome. And so
while they think they're safe, all of a sudden here come 2 scuba divers on these man movers that also have weapons, and they're coming after Bond. So Bond is like maneuvering around and shooting rockets at them, and then here comes another submarine. Like
right.
It's just one thing after another, and so Bond finally defeats the scuba divers and the submarine, and they go to investigate Atlantis to find out. They don't do that yet, do they?
Let's see here. Let me look at here. No, actually, they head back to the hotel for a minute, and from the reports, we find out that some secrets, some information got basically a big eye opener happens because we find out that Bond actually killed Triple X's lover.
Right. She hasn't figured that out yet.
Yeah. So after a couple exchanges, she finds out, and she basically now told him, after this mission's over, I'm going to kill you.
Right. And Bond pretty much tells her, like, I don't really have any remorse because he was trying to kill me.
Right.
And
like, what do you want me to do? You want me to get killed?
Kill or be killed.
Right. So I'm going to need you to figure that out because that's not my fault. And so after that kind of awkward conversation, they end up, I guess it's time to figure out how we can get to Stromberg. So they end up, heading to a submarine where they get to meet the captain of it, and they're exchanging information how to deal with it, and then all of a sudden they get captured by Stromberg's boat.
That's right. Well, and it's not just the boat; it's like an oil tanker.
It's a huge ass oil tanker.
The front opens up, and it swallows the submarines.
Yep, that's exactly right. And if I'm correct, that's exactly what happened kind of at the very beginning.
Right.
Yeah, so now they got the same treatment. So during that time, this is another great Stromberg moment where, he's like, look, I know you guys in there, so just come out. We won't kill you yet. And
well, it's like if you don't come out in 2 minutes, we're going to poison the whole crew.
Yeah. So they look to Bond for some reason, like, okay, well, everybody get out. Like, Bond was like, well, we're not going to die. Get out of the sub. Right. And then he gives Triple X a hat, and he's like, okay, just try to blend in.
Yeah, try to be a man.
Right.
Man up.
Yeah. And then it doesn't work because, like, one of the people told him to take the hat off, and she got pissed and slapped, and then Bond came in and punched one of the other guys, and Stromberg's like, bring him up here. And so they get upstairs where, him and Bond exchange information and whatnot. And then they take him. He ends up taking Triple X with him and leaving Bond here with the men to die. Right.
Well, he was going to be locked up with the rest of the Russian crew and the UK crew and now the American crew. And then he actually he's got this cool monorail that shoots out of like a torpedo tube and then turns into a boat, and they drive off to go to Atlantis.
That's like the best escape pod ever.
Yeah, that was so much better than Blofeld.
Right. So
so Bond starts fighting off the guys and rescues the submarine crews and tells them to go to the armory, and a big fight breaks out. Mm-hmm. But during this whole time, we find out that the reason Stromberg is doing all of this is he wants to start a nuclear war. So he's gonna send a nuclear missile to hit New York, and then one to hit Moscow. Mm-hmm. And the idea is he'll be safe under the water and start a new civilization underwater.
Right. So after all of that, he managed to save the crew, get them out of here safely. And then it was time to meet Stromberg for this final moment. So he ends up heading up there, and what happens? Bond is making his way down the elevator, and then Stromberg felt like that, haha, I got the upper hand. I'm going to press this button. So he pressed his button, and he noticed that Bond is not in the water with the sharks. Why? Because Bond managed to... Oh, God.
We're skipping way ahead.
Are we?
Yeah, because they have to reroute. They have to tell the submarines to not do their original targets, so that would blow themselves up.
Oh, okay. I guess I was thinking like that would be something we talk about like kind of during the last part of the briefing, like he did this and this. But let's go ahead and talk about that.
Okay, and then he's like, "Oh, I got to go save Triple X," and the submarine captain's like, "Well, how are you going to do that?" He's like, "I have orders to blow up the Atlantis in like the next 2 minutes."
Okay. And so rewind it back.
And he's like, "Well, do you have that thing that Q brought?" And they're like, "Yeah." So he's like, "Well, I need it." So they bring in this big white bag, and Bond hands the submarine captain some handlebars. And you're like, "What?"
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
And then it cuts to like Bond is on like a motorcycle jet ski.
That's right. Yeah, this part was pretty cool. I forgot about this.
On his way to go to Atlantis to save Triple X.
Okay. All right. So, after all the cool stuff he just mentioned, okay, now I get to finally do this. It's finally to set it up. Okay, so Bond's coming in here, right? He gets in this elevator. Stromberg sees him. He presses button like, "You shark bait, bitch." And so apparently it didn't work out because the shark's running around. He's like, "Where's Bond?" So Bond managed to, make it down to him. But Bond managed to keep his feet separate, so he didn't fall in the hole where the elevator would activate him to fall into the water. And right here, they have their last dinner together. As they were talking, Bond sits down and have a conversation with him, but Stromberg had one more thing up his sleeve. And what was under the table, Travis?
It was a gun with a barrel that spanned the entire length of the table.
That's a big ass.
So Stromberg goes to shoot. Bond sees him reach for the gun and dodges. And he shoots and misses. And so Bond shoots him twice through the barrel. That goes all the way down the table and then twice in the chest.
And this was a quick scene, guys. It was quick and simple. Because let's be honest, pure. Stromberg wasn't really going to do hand-to-hand fighting.
No,
that was not going to happen.
He's an older guy. It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, it was.
They were saving all the fights for our main man, Jaws.
Yeah. So after after his Stromberg's last meal, Bond wanted to. I think he was going to shut this place down. He's basically not shut. He was basically going to find Triple X because he doesn't have that long before this thing blows up.
Right, because the submarine captain is going to blow it up.
Yeah, and so. Who happens to be here waiting for him? Mr. Jaws.
Jawsy Jaws.
And so Jaws and him are kind of playing a little cat and mouse, chasing each other, a little fight and all this stuff.
Yeah, it was very Scooby-Doo. He walks
a little
up,
lackluster.
He walks up one ramp, and then all of a sudden he's right behind Bond.
And Bond should be ashamed of himself. Don't you think? He should be ashamed of himself. Like, really, Bond? Really? And so from there, he pushes Bond into this little like elevator, but it's more of like a Scooby-Doo switcheroo kind of thing. And it ends up being this kind of what would you call this area?
I don't even know. Like a, I think it's where he keeps the sharks and he feeds them.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little pool area, but Bond knows that he can't really beat Jaws, so he's trying to escape from him. But Jaws is not letting it happen. But he managed to get a little bit away from Jaws, where he ends up
kicked him in the nards.
I know. Again, what's with the feet, bro? And so he ends up finding a device that actually magnetizes stuff. So he ends up using the magnet, and as Jaws was trying to get closer, he's trying to drag the magnet over him, where he can attract Jaws' metal mouth to it, which he succeeds, and he gets lifted up, and then he ends up bringing him over in the water. And drops him in the water so he can end up being eaten up by a shark. But as Bond escapes, he doesn't see that Jaws beats the shark.
Yeah, Jaws kills the shark that he was fed to.
Yeah, and so Bond managed to make his way down to Triple X to rescue her. But they find out crap, we do not have enough time. So they managed to find a little escape pod. That shot him out into the water where they were, doing. They managed to escape. But as for Jaws managed to escape and just swim away.
Right.
Somehow Jaws is just that big of a badass. I think there's some more metal to him than we think. And so from there they end up getting picked up by the was it the British boat or the Moscow boat?
I don't know, but they got picked up. And Triple X and Bond were doing it in the lifeboat, which has a big window. And they don't realize that they're being picked up because this boat, the ship has a tailgate, and they pretty much just kind of drift into the boat. And there's M and Q and Gogol watching Triple X and Bond make out. And Bond makes some kind of comment and closes this drape.
And basically also to answer to if you're wondering what happened to the whole after the mission over, I'll kill you. She basically got over it. Yeah. And they just dealt with it. And they were talking about also, and they're like, maybe we shouldn't do it because what if they find out? No, they'll be cool with it. They'll be cool with it. And that's basically the end of Spy Who Loves Me. For some reason, Bond always ends his movies with water and making love. We've seen it in the raft. We've seen it at the end of everything.
Hey, that sheriff wasn't in this one, and there wasn't a crappy boat chase.
I know.
So I'll take it.
All right. I'll take the exchange. So that's the end of The Spy Who Loves Me. What do we feel like that Bond completed the mission? Yes. He did a damn good job.
This one made me like Roger Moore.
This was his redemption, right?
Right. This was a really good one from start to finish. There's a lot going on. And even though there's a lot going on, they don't spend a lot of time where it's not needed. Right. And they just give you the information that they need to tell the story and then move on. It doesn't seem like things are wasted. Jaws was a great villain. Great henchman.
So hang on, we'll separate that. Okay. Just overall thoughts. I thought what really shout out this movie with me, and they really wanted. I feel like they really wanted to let you know, okay, we heard your feedback. We're not gonna do this, and it's the music. The music was not annoying. There were some really good music. There was high orchestra music to jazzy music. like a remix of their intro, The Spy Who Loved Me, in different ways. They fit perfect on the right spots. There was good fast chase music. You know, it was a really good soundtrack overall through this whole thing. I never got annoyed by, okay, you know, this music don't fit here, or God, can you guys stop using the same music over again? You know what I mean? And so the villain did a good job. You know, they got it across what they wanted to do, and they did a really good job with it. My only downside I would say in this movie is I wish that Triple X just had a little bit more action for herself, and then on top of that, I wish that they leave Bond alone with kicking. He shouldn't kick anymore. Like, kicking seems like to be the thing that they really wanted to get across, and I'm glad that they had also Bond do other stuff that made him more Bond. Because all the previous ones, it was just really, he fight his way out of every situation. You never see him be smart about dealing with situation. Here, he was really smart, especially the part where when he was helping escape the men off of the boat after being captured, that they disarm a missile and use that as a bomb to blow up this wall to help stop these missiles from hitting Moscow and New York. And that was awesome. And so
what's also interesting is they went to Egypt, Sardinia, Canada, Malta, Scotland, Okinawa, Switzerland, and then they also filmed at Pinewood Studios, which is known for having huge sound stages. Like, all of the James Bond films are filmed at Pinewood, and I think they even did some Star Wars at Pinewood Studios. So like they did everything they could, and then all the underwater scenes. So anytime you see underwater activity, they were in the Bahamas at Nassau, which is an old pirate hangout. So yeah, they definitely had a bigger budget.
Yeah,
and it's very obvious. But just action, good storytelling.
Would you say, in your opinion, do you feel like this was the movie that was going to make or break for the Bond series?
If they keep,
because Man with the Golden Gun did not receive very well. It felt like this one was like go big or go home.
If this one redeemed Roger Moore for me, and has become in my top 5.
Okay, so now, because it wasn't in your top 5.
It was not in my top 5, but now it is.
Would you put this under Goldfinger or above Goldfinger?
Under Goldfinger.
Okay.
But I like the villain just as much, and Jaws was a great henchman.
So let's talk about the villains. Let's talk about Jaws and Stromberg. Did they really do a good job carrying this movie, or just good with the role that they played? Stromberg, I think he did enough, because they did what they supposed to do. They supposed to have Jaws, to me, the person that's supposed to do the dirty work, and build up Stromberg as this crazy maniac, per se.
Yeah, not necessarily a maniac, but just he's a rich dude who is obsessed with underwater and wants to live there. And I don't know why he wants all of civilization to be under there.
You can definitely get a Goldfinger and an Oddjob feel of the whole, like, I'm obsessed with something.
Yes.
And then your henchman is just supposed to make sure that nothing gets ruined from doing this. If something's in the way, I'll take care of it, kind of thing.
Right.
And I think compared to Jaws and Oddjob, Jaws really showed a little bit more. I think Oddjob was cool, but he was only cool of like certain moves that he did. Like, Jaws was cool because he was being this whole package. Like, he was fearful. He was not going to stop. He was like basically the Terminator of Bond. Like, he was not going to stop. Like, I'm going to get you and I'm going to kill you.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to let you get in the way. And I feel like Stromberg did a really good job of, you know, his dedication to get this thing done. No matter how weird it is, I like the fact he dedicated himself. Like, no, I'm going to live underwater. This is going to be the new civilization. I'm building this new world.
Right.
And so
it's my civilization.
So how do we feel about the Bond girl? How did we feel about Anya, a.k.a. Triple X? Did she do a really good job to you, or was she just kind of there? Go ahead.
She started out kind of like an equal to Bond, because like she wouldn't sleep with him at first, and she was kind of revered by the KGB, you know. And then like as the movie went on, she just kind of played a side character, like a sidekick.
I feel the same way. I feel like that they could have made her do a little bit more. Like, she could still be captured, but I wish she would have gone out swinging.
Right, like she could have freed herself and then met up with Bond while he was looking for her.
Right, because if you notice in this whole movie, she never really shot anybody. You see her holding guns all the
Right.
time, but you never saw her pull the trigger of anything. And especially the part where like when the Jaws and Bond were fighting in the ruins, and she was trying to hurry up and escape from there. I believe there could have been something there to help her, like kind of, make her stand out a little bit more and all that. I feel like she became the damsel of distress at the very end. Hell, it would have been cool her and Bond to fight together against Jaws. That would have been pretty cool to see.
Sure.
Like, I could see Bond fighting, and then I could see Triple X going to that machine and then attracting Jaws into the metal thing. That feels like something that she would do more than just Bond outsmarting. I could just see Bond still trying to kick him, and it's just not working. And so, Q Branch. Overall, it's great to have Q come back. It's great to see these gadgets come back.
Well, it's great that they're putting Q in more things, but then at the same time, like they're hopefully starting to do more gadgets, which is what I like about James Bond.
Right. And so you heard it from us. This was in my top 5. It's staying in my top 5. Travis is now entering it in his top 5. So this is going to be different when we go back to the list to see which one gets kicked off his top 5 now. Yeah. So yeah, I said Goldfinger and the Spy Who Loved Me were in my top 5, I believe.
Thunderball can go off my list now.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we'll put this one in that space.
Okay. All right. But this is basically the end of our mission. But don't forget, we have other missions. We're in the Roger Moore era, so don't forget we have done Live or Let Die, and we also did The Man with the Golden Gun. So definitely check those out. And if you really want to hear our top, Episode 0 is a great start too. And we already gone through the Sean Connery era. So that's 7 right there. So definitely check out those missions. Leave us a review. Leave us some comments. We're also now just happy to announce for this one, the Endgame Boss program, which you can hear all our other shows other than just Bond Never Die. We are now on Spotify. So now we're on Spotify. We are now on YouTube. We are now on Podbean and Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes. So now you have more access to all this stuff, and we're actually really excited we're on Spotify because that seems like the big hotspot people go to. So definitely go there, leave us a review, show us your support, give us a 5-star rating, tell us if we're doing a good job or not.
Tell us if we're doing a bad job.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what you like about what we talk about. Tell us if you think we should talk about something else.
Right. Tell us what villains you enjoyed so far that we talked about. Is Stromberg cool? Is Stromberg cool, or is it kind of lame? Let us know what you think. And we just want to thank everybody for just, listening to the show, supporting if you're doing a great job. But, we would just love to just hear y'all in general, just all that stuff. So definitely hit us up. Any other things you want to hit us up on, please visit us on the ingameoffice@gmail.com. And Travis, thank you so much for once again coming on. We got a long voyage.
We do. With the Moonraker coming up next.
Oh yeah, I feel like this is part 2 to Spy Who Loves Me per se, and it's funny too because they said For Your Eyes Only, it's supposed to be the next one up, but because of Star Wars, they were like, we need to hurry up and get to the sci-fi stuff while it's big. So Moonraker came in the middle of it, so it's going to be exciting how that all of a sudden came in the middle, does really well, and we will catch you on our next mission.
Ba-da-ba-da.